has one of the world's highest rates of child marriage. Half of all girls are given away in marriage before their 18th birthday, and nearly 1 in 8 is married by age 15. But since the new marriage law came into effect, one person has been on a mission to reverse that trend. Mariama Diallo has the story.
She's known as Chief Kachindamoto, and she's managed to break up 850 marriages involving children under the age of 18 in Malawi. She says nothing makes her happier than seeing some of the former child brides back in school.
I tried my best to see these girls to be a lot in classes. So as you can see, indeed, I'm a happy chief.
A hereditary tribal chief, Kachindamoto left her longtime job as a secretary to lead 900,000 people in central Malawi's Dedza district 13 years ago. In a country where child marriage is deeply entrenched in society, the chief has had a difficult but not impossible task.
There is mother groups, and we have these community policing, child protection workers who are looking each and every house to follow these children.
Judith Kabango was married at 14 and has a 4-year-old son. Kabango's marriage was annulled by Kachindamoto.
I wasted valuable time, but now I am in full-time learning and making a future for me and my child.
Stories like Kabango's are shared by countless girls in Malawi. Via Skype, Joyce Makandawire, Malawi's country coordinator for Rise Up, an umbrella organization that fights to empower girls worldwide, told us the story of Josephine.
At 15 years old, she has 2 children. This girl was married off at 12 years old. And the reason why, according to her, she said because of poverty and because she lost her parents because of HIV and AIDS.
With their help, Josephine is now back in school. Following advocacy efforts by civil society and people like Makandawire and Chief Kachindamoto, the country's parliament last year passed a law raising the minimum marrying age to 18. But the new law may be in conflict with Malawi's constitution.
The constitution itself still allows for parental consent under the age of 18. So we see this in many countries where there's a tension between the letter of the law and the Constitution saying one thing, a piece of national legislation saying another thing, and then customary or tribal law saying another thing altogether. And then the question is, how do these pieces fit together?
Thompson also says it's important to invest in dismantling the root causes of such marriages, including poverty and gender inequality. Mariama Diallo, VOA News, Washington.
Well, you're watching Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Now, Rwandans voted last December to change their constitution to allow President Paul Kagame to serve yet another term, and Kagame could be in power until 2034. But was the referendum free and fair? Retired Major Robert Higiro says no. Major Higiro is the guest today, one-on-one with Peter Clote.
The president of Rwanda has been able to remove term limits. He said Rwandans demanded it, and now he has announced that he's going to seek another term. Is this what Rwandans want?
Rwandans want a democratic and prosperous Rwanda. You know, they need the government to be held accountable. But in the first place, the whole constitutional amendments and the whole process of that and the referendum of 98% shows you exactly what happened. We have a society in Rwanda where the whole society is living in fear.
But they say that Frank Habineza, who is the opposition leader of the Democratic Party, is free. He opposes the government. He goes out of the country. He speaks freely, and nobody has touched him.
It's not about the Green Party. Talk about other opposition parties, the so-called opposition parties in Rwanda.
But some of them asked for the president to run for another term because he brings stability, development, peace, among other issues that he makes people feel that they are part of a democracy. You doubt that?
Exactly. That answers our question. Why should an opposition party ask Kagame to continue running? Why do they have parties in the first place? They are there to challenge the government. Probably they have different parties because they don't agree with the RPF. But they are the same people asking the RPF candidate to continue leading. Why? Because of the extraordinary killings and disappearances and assassinations that have happened in the past, and they are still ongoing. So the RPF candidate, or the president for that matter, decides for each and every opposition party who is going to get a place, who is going to be in the parliament, who is going to be an ambassador, to the extent that he actually gets a leader of a political party or an opposition party and sends him to be an ambassador somewhere. An example is Mitari.
But the government said over 4 million people unanimously petitioned the parliament to have the constitutional amendment.
First of all, there's no democracy, because there's no way we are going to measure this without freedom of speech and expression and media. See what he has done to the media. The radios and TVs we have in the country, they are all run by the RPF. There are a few who could say this and this, and it's just a matter of time here everybody is missing. Some of these journalists have been missing, others are found dead, others just, accidents, and so on. So once we can't hold this government accountable, once we don't have independence towards the branches of government, the judiciary and the parliament, then this is all from Kagame. He runs everything, RPF controls everything. The success story they are talking about, the economic story they are talking about is a fallacy.
In the wake of the decline in global petroleum prices, the Nigerian government is turning its attention to other revenue earners, such as iron ore and coal, to mention a few. But some miners are accused of depriving the government of fees that are due on the resources, which are vast, as we hear in our next report.
There are over 41 solid mineral resources found in large quantity in Nigeria, which, if optimally harnessed, can compete with oil and gas as major revenue earners for the country. The solid minerals include coal, bitumen, limestone, iron ore, lead, and gold. Exploring these resources can go a long way in driving industrialization, which the government says is a major focus.
There is a huge internal demand for our resources, which we intend to address. Our ambition goes beyond extraction and exportation. It is to create a globally competitive sector capable of contributing to wealth creation, job creation, and advancing our social and human security. We will achieve this by focusing on using our mining assets to initially drive domestic industrialization and migrate to competing in global markets.
While the government seeks ways to achieve this, it has the challenge of curbing activities by individuals which are at variance with the laws guiding mining in the land. Plateau State is one of the states richly endowed with solid minerals such as tantalite and columbite. But the authorities have had a running battle with local miners.
These people are prospecting illegally. The materials they mine there, tin and columbite, I am told, are then taken from that place to nearby rivers where they are washed. Mining is there for us to prospect, but we have to do it the right way.
Some local miners claim it is their only means of survival and are forced into the trade despite the implications.
We are doing this one to help ourselves because our people, they not get what to eat, and they not get where to help themselves or to to pay their school fees for their children. That is why we are here.
Experts believe that while the government is right in prosecuting offenders of the law, they believe people that engage in local mining can be assisted to become legitimate miners.
There are over 3,000 already on the plateau doing this work. We are trying to see how we can partner with our state government, because this is an indigenous plateau, to see how they can assist us to help all these our members, all our boys that are surviving on this work, to get them to formalize them so that they can do it legally. This is their only source of livelihood. Until they are formalized, if not, if all of them are driven out for lack of being licensed, then there will be so much of hoodlum on our streets today.
Economic diversification is a major policy focus of the government, but achieving the goal it has set for itself in this regard will require a clearly defined strategy and commitment.
It's time now for another break. A reminder to visit our website, channelstv.com, for all the latest information, day or night. You can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. Still to come on Africa 54. One of our favorite foods might be in trouble. A disease is ravaging tomato farms in Nigeria, and it's led to scarcity and high prices for this essential ingredient. We'll have that story and more after the break.